Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. What if love arrives when life already feels too heavy to carry? Can a young mother, burdened with work and responsibility, open her heart to a man who promises her happiness? And what about Alex, the CEO torn between business and love? Will his courage be enough to break through her doubts? Tonight, we witness a tender yet dramatic turning point. Alex has decided to marry Tuna. But the question remains, will Tuna accept his proposal, or will fear and hesitation hold her back? Stay with us until the very end to feel every heartbeat, every silence, and every glance that could change their destinies. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help us reach 10,000 followers, so we can bring you even more heartfelt journeys. Now, let's begin. The morning light slipped quietly through the thin curtains, painting soft shadows on Tuna's face as she sat before the camera. Her voice carried a mixture of warmth and weariness, like a river flowing slowly after days of rain. She greeted the audience with a tender smile, speaking of gratitude, of the countless times she had been lifted by the unseen encouragement of others. Behind that smile lingered the fatigue of sleepless nights, the quiet burden of raising her child alone, and the ache of dreams delayed. She admitted her youth still felt fragile, too tender to bear the constant demand of life. Yet there was resilience in her words, an insistence that she would return again and again, carrying with her a piece of hope for tomorrow. Her child was still small, still in need of her every breath, every touch, and so she could not appear as often as she wished. But she promised. One day, when time allowed, she would give more of herself. In her voice, there was no complaint, only a hushed honesty, like autumn leaves rustling in a lonely garden. She held her hardships gently, as if afraid to disturb the fragile calm she had created. And yet, beneath the calm, a question trembled unspoken. Was there space for love, for companionship, for something beyond survival? As the video ended, her words lingered, suspended in silence. To those listening, it felt less like a farewell and more like the opening of a door, an invitation into her hidden world of longing, sacrifice, and quiet strength. The dawn had barely broken when Tuna wrapped her child in gentle layers of cloth, whispering soft promises into tiny ears. The baby's breath was light, like drifting petals, unaware of the weight his mother carried. She moved with quiet urgency, gathering milk, clothes, and small necessities, each action a testament to her discipline and care. Her heart, though, lingered, half tethered to her child's fragile world, half compelled by the demands of survival. The path to Mrs. Tang's house stretched before her like an old song, worn and familiar. Mrs. Tang, with her kind but weary eyes, welcomed them at the door. She cradled the child as if he were her own, soothing the ache of separation in Tuna's chest. There was comfort in the grandmotherly embrace, but also a silent reminder. Tuna was still walking alone in her journey, leaning on borrowed kindness to bridge her days. She thanked Mrs. Tang, her voice heavy with both gratitude and guilt, and pressed her lips to her child's forehead one last time before leaving. Each step away was a small tearing of the heart. The baby's soft coos echoed in her mind, even as the door closed gently behind her. Outside, the sun climbed higher, spilling gold over the quiet fields. Tuna adjusted the basket on her arm and straightened her back. The world demanded her labor, her strength, her perseverance, Yet within her, the ache of parting carried a deeper question. Was there someone who could one day share this burden? Someone who would not let her walk the path alone? Alex's morning began with a restless rhythm, his mind divided between duty and desire. On his desk lay a bouquet order, a small velvet box containing a ring, and a necklace carefully chosen to shine softly against Tuna's skin. He had rehearsed this moment in silence countless times, his heart steady only when he imagined her smile. Yet just as resolve gathered within him, the phone rang, slicing through his thoughts. Ms. Land's voice carried urgency. Adam, the business partner, was on his way to inspect the first shipment. The fruit must be perfect, the deal flawless. Alex exhaled, his hand tightening around the phone. Business was the foundation he had built with years of sweat, the proof of his resilience. But today, it felt like a chain, pulling him away from where his heart longed to go. He drove out, the roads winding through fields alive with the scent of harvest. At the meeting point, Adam arrived, his manner brisk, his eyes sharp on the produce. Alex stood by, both host and negotiator, ensuring each word, each gesture affirmed trust. He smiled, nodded, explained, but inside, another clock ticked louder, urging him toward Tuna. When the contract was sealed and Adam left satisfied, Alex lingered only long enough to order another bouquet. She will like this, he whispered to himself, though doubt pressed at his chest. Love demanded courage, yet responsibility demanded patience. Could he hold both in his hands without one slipping away? As the sun slid westward, he turned his car toward the farm, carrying with him not just flowers and jewels, but the weight of two worlds colliding: ambition and affection, duty and longing. The fields stretched endlessly, their silence broken only by the sound of fruit falling gently into woven baskets. Tuna's hands moved with practiced care, her fingers tracing each dragon fruit and custard apple as though they were fragile treasures. Sweat gathered on her brow, slipping down her temples under the unrelenting sun. Each motion told the story of resilience, of a young mother carrying not only the harvest but the weight of survival. Around her the air shimmered with heat, and the soil clung stubbornly to her sandals. The work was harsh, yet her face remained composed, steady as the mountains that framed the horizon. In those quiet hours of labor, she seemed both vulnerable and unyielding, like a tree bending to the wind but never breaking. Her thoughts, however, drifted. Between one basket and another, she wondered about her child resting safely at Mrs. Tang's. Would the baby sleep soundly? Would he miss her scent, her lullaby? The questions pressed into her chest, soft but persistent. Loneliness whispered at the edges of her heart, reminding her of the void where partnership might have been. Still she carried on, her arms aching, her back stiff, her spirit firm. She moved as though the earth itself demanded her devotion, as though each fruit gathered was an offering for her child's tomorrow. The sun lowered slowly, gilding the landscape in gold. For a fleeting moment, she paused, her gaze wandering beyond the fields, toward a horizon she had long stopped expecting anyone to cross. Unbeknownst to her, Alex was already on his way, his car cutting across the same horizon, guided by a different kind of longing, one that might one day meet her own. The evening air hung heavy with the scent of earth and harvest when Alex finally arrived at the farm. His footsteps were hesitant at first, carrying both anticipation and unease. In his hands, the bouquet trembled slightly, petals catching the last light of day. The ring and necklace weighed more than gold. They carried his hope, his fear, his decision to bind his life to hers. Tuna looked up from the stove, where a modest meal simmered. Surprise flickered across her features, softening into something unreadable. "You're here so late," she murmured, the tone neither welcoming nor distant, but shaded with curiosity. Alex swallowed, his throat tight. "I have something to tell you," he replied, his voice unsteady yet resolute. Inside, the child lay sleeping, the quiet rise and fall of tiny breaths, a reminder of innocence untouched by adult hesitation. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of a lantern, turning the space into a stage where silence itself carried weight. Alex placed the flowers on the table, the colors vivid against the worn wood. Time slowed. The distance between them seemed fragile, a span that could collapse with one word or stretch endlessly apart. Tuna gestured for him to sit, her eyes searching his face, sensing the gravity behind his presence. For Alex, every second before speaking was a storm of doubt. Would she see his offering as a promise or a burden? For Tuna, the sight of his trembling hands stirred something deep, an awareness that her quiet, carefully contained world was about to change. The silence between them thickened, broken only by the faint crackle of fire from the stove. Alex leaned forward, his palms damp, eyes fixed on Tuna as though her gaze alone could anchor him. Slowly, he drew the ring from his pocket, its small circle gleaming faintly in the dim light. His voice trembled, but his words carried the weight of years unsaid. "I don't know when it began," he confessed, "but you became a part of my heart. Today, I don't just want to stand beside you. I want to build a life with you. Please let me care for you and for your child, as if both were my own." Tuna's breath caught, her fingers curling against her lap. The bouquet of flowers, vibrant and alive, seemed to pulse in the quiet air. She felt his sincerity radiating, like sunlight through storm clouds. Yet her heart recoiled in uncertainty. "Alex, you're good. Too good," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread. "But I am not worthy. I'm afraid I don't belong in your world." He shook his head, urgency pressing into his tone. "Don't think of worth. My mother, my sister, they will understand. I will stand by you. All I ask is the chance to love you." Her eyes shimmered, caught between gratitude and fear. She could almost imagine it. Safety, love, a shared tomorrow. Yet doubt lingered like shadows at dusk. "Please," she murmured, barely audible. "Give me time to think." Alex's shoulders eased, not with defeat, but with patience. "I'll wait," he promised softly. "As long as it takes, I'll wait for your answer." The night deepened, and the lantern's glow painted the room in soft amber. Tuna moved quietly, checking on her child, who lay sleeping with a peace untouched by the turbulence of adult hearts. Alex remained seated, his gaze following her, not with impatience, but with a tenderness that held both longing and restraint. On the table, the flowers breathed their faint perfume, a silent witness to what had passed. The ring, still resting in its box, gleamed with unspoken promise. The necklace lay against Tuna's collarbone, catching the faintest glimmer of light, an emblem of the step Alex had already taken, even if she had not yet followed. In that silence, words were unnecessary. Alex leaned back, exhaling the weight of the day. He had spoken all he could, laid bare the core of his heart. What remained was not in his control. Yet rather than despair, he felt a strange calm settle over him. Waiting, he realized, was not emptiness. It was proof of love's patience. Tuna sat across from him, her eyes lowered, her thoughts a storm. She felt both the comfort of his presence and the tremor of fear. Fear of change, of unworthiness, of stepping into a life she had never imagined. And yet, in the fragile quiet, a seed of hope pressed gently into her chest. The baby stirred, releasing a soft sigh, and both turned toward the sound. In that moment they shared a glance, brief, unspoken, yet filled with a promise neither dared to articulate. The night closed around them, leaving the question suspended in the air. Alex had decided to marry Tuna, but would she find the courage to accept? And that brings us to the end of today's story. Alex has spoken his heart, offering Tuna not only love, but a promise of a shared future. Yet, her silence lingers. Will she find the strength to accept his proposal? Or will the weight of doubt keep her from stepping forward? Sometimes, the greatest drama isn't in the storms we face, but in the quiet pauses, the moments of waiting, of choosing, of daring to believe in happiness once more. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support will help us reach 10,000 followers and bring you even more journeys filled with love, choices, and unforgettable emotions. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.